I want to do, guys, is just go back 1 year. The anniversary is coming up Wednesday. Let's just go back to the beginning. When that morning, take me back to when you got the phone call. What was going on out here on the highway that morning?
Well, when I got the phone call, my dispatcher was that they couldn't get Mason on the radio. They'd just called me 2 minutes prior and said, "Hey, Mason's in pursuit," and which wasn't uncommon. And I said, "Let me know when when the guy's in custody." She called me back. She said, "I can't get him on the radio. I can't get him on the phone." And I'm like, "Who's out?" And she says she got one deputy to respond. And then I jumped in. I did the flight of the Bumblebee, and I took off, and I got to the Toston Bridge, and they said that the highway patrolman that had found him requested a coroner. And I was like, about 3 miles down the road, Sheriff Dutton called me. About 10 miles down the road from there, Sheriff Gookin called me. And so, it was, news traveled fast, and we got on scene and pulled in behind the highway patrolman, and got out of my car, and the lights were on Mason's car, and I walked over there trying to figure out what was going on, because no emergency lights, no siren, no nothing, and the door was open, which I thought was odd, so I thought maybe got out and was running on foot, and looked in the driver's seat, and there was Mason, and in not a state that I felt that anybody needed to see him in, and the highway patrolman showed up, and I said, "Give me a blanket," and covered him up and moved everybody back, and it was probably the best thing I ever did. I moved him back about 200 yards, and it really prevented that traumatic event for those guys that knew him and worked with him. So,
Brian, take me back to that morning. You talked to Wynn after that as you're trying to do your part here. This is kind of a goofy part with the counties right close together, sure. And you're all of a sudden called into action on something you never want to have to do.
Yeah, I remember it was my captain that gave me a call, and just that horrible feeling in your stomach, and just I felt it as we were driving up this morning, is just that horrible feeling. And so I immediately called Wynn. Obviously we're friends, and just told him anything that he needs. And I can only imagine what's going through his brain, so we just sent everybody out and sort of helped with the scene, helped with the press, helped with all of those things, because he needed to take care of his people, which he did. And that was a huge part for us, was just being able to take care of business while they take care of themselves. And we did that not just for that day, but I think we did that for a couple weeks. So.
Yep.
But I have no doubt that they would do it for us in a heartbeat. So,
Leo, that's a challenging thing, because we're not just talking about helping out another jurisdiction. You're talking about the loss of somebody you know. This Mason was somebody you guys knew. This wasn't just a stranger. This was a member of the family. How do you get yourselves past some of that and continue to do the job you have to do?
One of the things that maybe was a hidden blessing in this, that we didn't know Mason that well, but we really know Wynn that well. And that was the hard part, is to look at the law enforcement family and to see them suffer and to know what that loss meant. That's why that Brian and I jumped in our vehicles. When you have something just like a family member that dies, other people come to stand there, just the witness of presence, to be there, and you recognize things to do to help Wynn and to be able to just relieve some of the pressure, be a helpmate instead of a problem, and let him concentrate on just being alive, just taking care of Mason Moore's family, his own family, which was the law enforcement officers, the detention officers, the dispatchers back at the office. All of those went to instant grieving shock, all of those kind of things. So it was an honor and a blessing for us to be able to come in and help. So I do want to say it is better to give than receive, and I pray that we don't have to go through this again. We may, but I hope not.
The reality is all three of you men, though, have men and women every day, every night out there in potentially situations that could be that way. Has this changed it for you, Leo? Do you think about things? I mean, you're still going to do the job you're paid to do, and your men and women do it beautifully every single moment of every single day, but does it change? Does this make it a little more real now that you've had to go through this?
It makes it a lot more imaginable, which you never wanted to do. It does bring it closer to home. Unlike Wynn, though, we could go home and say, sorry it was for Wynn, sorry it was for Jody, but we went home and you almost felt guilty that you felt that way. I'm just being real honest about it. But it does bring into the realization of what if it was you? What if you had to do this? And you know, I got down on my knees and said, thank you, Lord. And I'm so sorry for what they had to do, but I felt guilty for saying it wasn't me. But it does make you think, and it makes you feel blessed every day that you get no tragedies, and I pray that it doesn't happen again.
Same question to you, Brian.
Sure. Well, I mean, unfortunately, we're standing at a park with David, so we had been through it once before, but it still doesn't make it any easier. You know, I go back to exactly what Leo was saying, and when I had that phone call from the captain, the immediate relief that I had that it wasn't one of mine, and then that immediate feeling of guilt and horrible heartbreak of feeling sorry, you know, feeling horrible for Wynn and his office. So as a leader, the only thing we can do is do the best that we can to train, equip, hire the right people, but make sure that they understand that, you know, this is part of the job, and it's a horrible, hopefully it never ever happens, but that's the difference between what we do and what others do. And
What does that mean to you? I mean, that moment, your department is diminished greatly at that point. This is somebody that you've worked closely with and all of those kind of things. The fact that multiple counties come in to help out with you. I know Scott Carpenter from Livingston helped out, Montana Highway Patrol here. That family brought all together. That still doesn't change the fact that you've got to deal with something super personal.
Oh no, I mean, you know, that's a hard part, and I think that's from the leadership aspect is most people don't realize just because. You know, Sheriff Dutton, Sheriff Gookin, Highway Patrol, Jefferson County, Sheriff Doolittle, even John Sheriff Lopp over in Marr County, they're all sending people to come over and help. And whether it be in detention, dispatch, or on the street, but still being the sheriff, you still have to be to work every day. And at that point, you have to be there. And it really does come down to, I think, being that presence that's there, that rock per se. But you know, you gotta think about it. And I think I spend a lot more time looking at the mental health component of my staff. And you know, one of the first calls I made after talking to Jody was to our local counselor, and I said, I need you in my office. And she spent 3 days there, and that really, I think, helped out quite a bit. Obviously not the street officers not having that option or ability to walk up to Mason's car. It did cause a little frustration because it's a closure component for them. But the fact is they didn't need to see that, and to get them, because we still have a mission and a goal that has to be met every single day. And you know, we understand there's risks and there's things like that, but small community, small home, small office, you know, it cuts deep, you know. So I think we've done well as a team. I'm not going to say that I did anything great, because I just put the right people in the right places to kind of, I guess, benefit the whole process on how we do things, and together we worked together to make sure everybody was taken care of the best we could, and I think it worked out well.
Is it different today? I mean, do you do things differently?
Oh,
you
yes.
still have the task,
Yes.
but do you do things differently?
Extremely different. You know, every night I go to bed worried about the phone ringing, and when the phone rings, you're going, oh, please, Lord, just tell me it's not something bad again. And losing two in 8 months, you know, I had one off-duty death as well, and that posed some problems. But every night I worry about it. Every time there's a pursuit, every time there's a gun call, I go, just get them home. And you know how we train. You know, I listen to a thing of trying to below 100 club is trying to get the in line of duty deaths down below 100, and one of those is we honor the fallen by by training the living. And you know, I've gone through and replaced the vests, and I got rifle plates for my guys, and new tasers and body cams, and doing everything I can to keep them as safe as I can, and even to the point of where I'm in the process of trying to order helmets, because it's the only thing on their body I haven't protected yet. But then it becomes down to them, and that's where the training component comes in, and determine whether or not, you know, look at these flags and keep that in the back of your mind. When somebody comes blowing by you at 3 o'clock in the morning, you hit your lights and they keep going, is it a trap? Is it somebody who's drunk and driving like an idiot, or is it somebody who's out to get you? And I think the staff has really taken that approach and go, you know what, maybe this isn't something I want to engage in. And I think about Mason every single day, and you know, days his 43rd birthday, and you know, it's always there.
Brian, that brings up an interesting point. You have an incredibly graphic opportunity for training that is far enough removed, but it's close enough that you can use that to hit on. This is why we talk about these things. This is why we talk about those things. Has it changed the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office?
Yes and no. I mean, we emphasize training all the time, and as a matter of fact, we train as much, if not more, than most agencies in the state. Nowadays, with the things that are happening in Florida and around the country, the active shooter training that we do, it's all geared towards the same thing, and that is, you know, number one, be safe. Number two, you may have to put your life on the line to save others, and again, that's hiring the right people, and that's what it really comes down to, is you got to have the right person in uniform out in the street from day one, and we spend a huge amount of time and effort on that.
Leo, same question to you. Has it changed Lewis and Clark County?
I would give the same answer, yes and no. I think it brings realism to every deputy. One thing that we didn't talk about is where this started. It was in Lewis and Clark County, where these two individuals were, and getting angry, trying to getting other people to go out and kill cops. They made the decision to do it, and when they came out of the campground, they had a choice to make a right turn or a left turn, and they made a right turn, and they were in a hunting mode, and they were hunting cops to kill. That was their mission. Had they turned left, it would have been one of ours. So at the moment, a split-second decision was Broadwater County instead of us. Our guys think about that all the time, and we remind them that every traffic stop could be something that turned into something fatal. Don't get complacent. Be aware. Have your situational awareness all the time. That is difficult. That's fatiguing. One of the things that I want to mention is sometimes the unmentioned or the forgotten victims in all of this, and that's our families. Our families cringe when bad news comes, because they sit and wait for the worst news. Was it our loved one? Even though it may be not, you know, they feel helpless, but yet they're in the same boat that we are, that they want to help. I do want to say thanks to them, to all of those that support us, because they can't get out and get into the fights, and sometimes they're thankful for that, but they support us, and that's our base. So I do want to mention them. But it has changed how we think about things, and each time that we do just a traffic stop, people say, well, it was a routine traffic stop. There's no such thing as a routine traffic stop. So it did change our mental awareness. It did help our situational awareness, and it's sad to say, out of tragedy does come some improvement, and that's situational awareness, recognizing that anytime someone's trying to get your attention, be wary.
You know, the one thing that I would add, if you don't mind, is just with that, our emphasis has really been that, 99.9% of the citizens of this state are fantastic, good, law-abiding people, and we don't want to treat every one of them as that 1%. You know what I mean? So we're still human beings, still the golden rule. We still treat people the way that they need to be treated, but have that in the back of your mind that, be ready and be prepared. So,
and I'll add to that as well. As part of that process is, I'm pretty active on the Facebook, and I think that these guys are as well, getting our staff and the people out there, and really getting people to realize the human side of law enforcement. We're not robots. We're not we're not here to infringe upon your civil liberties. We're fathers and daughters and husbands and wives and brothers and sisters to somebody, and they all love us, and at the end of the day they want us to come home. And in reality, these people want to get home to their families, and we're on the same boat. We're just kind of in a short-term situation that shouldn't have life-changing effects to it. So it's a tough world we live in right now, and obviously the environment across the nation makes it even tougher. It's hard to keep your guys motivated when they do continue to see officers being killed in the line of duty on seems like a daily basis anymore. And it does change. It changes a lot, and it does take the right person with the right mindset to be willing to go out and put themselves out there for somebody they don't even know.
Perfect.
Awesome.
That's
Thanks.
great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you as well.
Nice meeting
Brian, thank
Yeah,
you.
Chet, always.
Leo, thank
Yeah.
you very much. I
Yeah,
appreciate
see you,
it.
man.
Good
Yeah.
to see you again.